Yep, I still have it. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen of the Nothing Fancy Project, thanks for clicking on the video. This is a situation report of what is going on. The SITREP, deep within the Nothing Fancy bunker, which strangely is running low on toilet paper. That's messed up. Anyways, let's start off with a breathing exercise to relax. Everybody with me together. Yes, I'm serious. A breathing exercise. We'll start with an in-breath. We'll hold it, then we will exhale together. You may close your eyes for more effectiveness. Think happy thoughts. Here we go. Breathing in. Breathing out. Nirvana. No, I'm not going to fart right now. Maybe later, but not right now. Oh, I feel so much better. How about you? Did that help? Did that help de-stress you, TNPer? I hope it did. I know it seems dumb, but do that. Breathe in, breathe out, relax. You know who else taught me that? U.S. Air Force survival instructors. So I flew ejection seat aircraft, partially in the U.S. Air Force. And they teach you if you ever eject over enemy territory, bug out first, get away from the enemy, hide, and then do what I just told you. Maybe not the whole breathing in, breathing out thing, but they say relax. You'll think so much better if you just relax. Otherwise, you might get into a panic, and then you make stupid decisions that are not based on logic, that are not correct, and you will end up regretting them, and you may die because of that bad decision. Now, we are in crisis as a nation. Families are in crisis. A lot of Americans are in crisis. Things are bad. They will only get worse, however, if you don't relax as much as you can and think clearly. Consider your options, have a family council if you need to, and then make the best decision you can with the evidence you have at hand. That's all you can do in life. I feel compelled to make this video. It's been on my mind. I was going to do gear reviews, and I was like, no, you got to do a SITREP video. And it just kept eating at me. It's like, do a SITREP. And there's a reason I have to do it, because I'm talking to you as my friend. And I know a lot of you guys and gals are finding yourselves in situations that are scary. And I want to give you hope first and foremost. This situation will not last forever. We will get out of it. The COVID-19 scare, the impending economic catastrophe, which seems like it's coming, it won't last forever. You will survive it. I will survive it. And life will go on. We're survivors in TNP. If there's any message I have communicated, hopefully, over the years, is that we're survivors. Why do I do gear reviews on guns, knives, tactical gear? I've done stuff on freeze-dried food. I've done a video on water storage, survival gear, survival kits of all types. Why? Because we have the mindset of a survivor. So you've made a commitment by being a TNPer probably a long time ago that you're going to survive. You're like, hey, I know times are going to get rough, but I'm going to make a few preparations. I'm going to put some money towards those preparations. I bet you're really grateful you did that, by the way. And life will go on. I'll push through this. So here we are in this crisis. Don't change course of the ship. You made a smart decision back there to, whatever you want to call it, to be a prepper, be a survivalist, be a survivor. Stick with it. Stay the course. It's good. No audience should be more prepared than you guys. I've put a ton of work, a ton of videos out there trying to get you ready for where we are now. I've been hearing from TNPrs. I have. And they're like, God, I'm so glad I've been watching you for the last 8 years, 6 years, whatever, that I heeded your advice. I went out and I built bug out kits. I had a food storage. I have a water storage. I have level 1 first aid kits, level 2 first aid kits. If you've hopefully heeded that advice, as imperfect as it is, I'm not saying my advice is all that, but I've done my best, you should be fine. It doesn't mean you're completely prepared. Nobody's going to be completely prepared. And you've probably had that brought to your mind lately because you look around and you go, oh my gosh, I forgot this. Oh my gosh, I don't have that. Oh my gosh, I meant to get that and I never did. I procrastinated and now I'm hosed. Is it that bad yet in the country where, let's say you need a certain item to complete your preparations? I would say it's not that bad yet, but it could get bad depending on a lot of factors. And this is a very complex situation we find ourselves in. The COVID-19 pandemic, the response of the government, both local governments, both the federal government, it's changing so rapidly. Again, a 24-hour news cycle seems like a week to me. So I'm going to talk in generalities in this SITREP video. Hopefully to first and foremost give you guys and gals of the Nut and Fancy Project a forum to just do what we started the video with, just to relax. Talk below. Talk to your TNPrs below. This is a private forum. It is a private forum. I ask people to be respectful as always. No a-holes down there. If I see it, I won't like it. And you could be banned. We do it infrequently, but if I retain the right. It's a private forum. It's a private community here in TNP. But talk about what's going on with you. Bounce ideas off. I can't put everything in the video for your questions, but I have been getting questions lately from TNPrs, mostly from Patreon members. You should join there, by the way, and stay in there forever. It's a reason TNP keeps going. And I work so hard week to week. Yes, even with what's going on, I'm working my butt off for TNP. And they have asked me over there, what do you think about what's going on? Again, I'm an imperfect information source. I don't act like that I'm an all-knowing individual about what's going on because, again, there's so many factors. It's so difficult to paint a picture accurately with all these data streams coming in. It could go this way. It could go that way. It could go this way. I have been reading the news, watching the news from various sources, a lot, probably just like you have, trying to glean information, trying to look on the horizon, see what's coming. Now, what I'm getting ready to say, I don't want it to freak you out, but here's what I'm feeling now. I feel, as a nation, that we are going to see some very hard times because of what we have done to our economy. Now, in this video, I'm not going to get into whether that's right or that's wrong. I think measures have been taken by both county, state, federal authorities who I think for the most part, if not entirely, are well-meaning. They are trying to stem the flow of the spread of this virus. They're trying to limit the amount of people who might die from it. They're trying to, as we've heard over and over again in the news, flatten the curve. We get all that. But it's a situation, perhaps, where the cure is worse than the disease. In that I think it's like an underwater earthquake. And again, I'm not a seismologist, but according to my understanding, when there's a plate shift underwater, that's what creates a tsunami. And there's some mathematics involved. They can actually calculate the size of the wave, how big the plate shift was. And it displaces water. It creates this long distance wave that travels like hundreds, if not thousands of miles, a tsunami. And it is an upwelling of water. You've seen what it's done in its damaging effects, a tsunami. I think that's what has happened to our economy. Small businesses are going out of business as I film this. There's more to follow. These are people who employ other people who have families, and these families use the money they got from their wages to buy things in the economy, to buy travel, to go on vacations, to buy groceries, and now they don't have that money. These small businesses will not be able to make their loan payments on their business. They won't be able to make their insurance payments. They won't be able to make their healthcare payments. And it looks grim. I think that damage has already been done to, I wouldn't say a large extent. And again, I'm just broad stroking here because I could read you all types of paper here. The video will go on 2 hours if I do. I don't think it's large scale, but I think it's medium scale. And I think a lot of people will be unemployed. That's the tsunami I'm talking about. Not COVID-19. I mean, that's bad. And by the way, it's worse than I said in my last video. I didn't see it as it was. They're saying it's a 4.35% mortality worldwide today. But those numbers are debatable. There's really no hard evidence of anything. It's just a moving target. So it is substantial. I'm not trying to lessen the impact or the severity or the impact of people who get COVID. But going back to the economy, that's where my focus is, because that's going to affect a lot more people adversely in a really bad way. So those people losing their jobs, being unemployed, having lived on the razor's edge in their personal lives, maybe in their businesses, what do they do now? What do they do now? That's the tsunami I'm talking about. So it will take a while for those effects to be felt in our economy, but I guarantee you we are going to feel them. So if it's a restaurant down the street that has gone out of business from you guys, if it's a travel agency, if it's anything associated with travel, a hotel, an airline, if that goes out of business, this tsunami is going to get bigger because all that money that was being pumped into the economy is gone. And all those people, those tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions employed by that industry no longer have money to put in the economy, and they don't have money to buy the necessities of life. That, my friends, is a tsunami. That, my friends, could be a second Great Depression. That's the tsunami I'm talking about. Do I see this coming? From my very imperfect knowledge, in my opinion, and I'm being dead serious when I'm trying to give you my most honest, gut-wrenched answer, no, I don't. Not to that level, but I think we're going to go near the brink. I think we're going to learn some lessons as individuals, as societies, across the world, actually, in this, this whole thing. But I don't know. This is not the end of the world. We're going to survive this. Like I said, you're going to survive it. You'll come out of it, hopefully wiser. I don't see it to that level right now. Maybe I do another SITREP video later and I change my tune because I have different data and I have more information. But right now, no, I don't. I think it's going to get real scary. It's going to look like we're going to go into a Great Depression, then something's going to happen to snap us out of it. There is hope in the treatment of COVID. There's some drug treatments that are actually proving to be very effective. I don't know why they are not being promoted more. I know President Trump and his team has been talking about them. My wife has those pills. It's an RA medication. I'll put it on screen. And that seems to be working. And I think the authorities at all the levels are doing their best. I don't look at them and see them doing stupid things. Well, let me say, some things are stupid, but they don't mean them to be stupid. Now, you are a TNPer. You should be a lot more prepared than your neighbor. And I mean that. Like I said, if you've listened to the videos and you've gone out and spent money wisely to develop your systems, if there's anybody that should be able to survive, like I said in the last video, 90 days is what I said, in your domicile, in your house, in your cabin, in your bunker with an RPG in the back, whatever, 90 days, it should be you. Now, as I talk about this, I want you to think about your neighbors. Speaking of living on the razor's edge, and I mentioned that phrase, and here's what I mean by it. How many of your neighbors are prepared like you are, hopefully prepared? Not good, right? This could be a completely different tsunami. So the one I was talking about was the economy, people not having money. And, well, I guess it's the same thing where people get desperate because they don't have food. They don't have food stored up. They live hand to mouth. Literally, they go to the store for the things they need. They buy from the store. And if you look in their pantries, a couple cans of soup, top ramen, boxes of cereal, maybe a couple canned veggies, beans, and that's it. There's people who live like that. And what's going to happen to them? Think about your neighbors. How are they going to respond if, big if the shelves go empty for whatever reason? What we're seeing now, right now in the buying panic, of course, TP. I joked about TP, but TP is flying off the shelves. Apparently people never thought to store up TP. Oh, by the way, I was just joking about that TP thing. I got a ton stored up. Come on, it's a necessity of life. TP, you got to have some stored up. And here's the deal. I bought mine 20 years ago. That's no lie. 20 years ago. I have like old school nostalgic Charmin. The rolls are like this big. Seriously, you take one of those rolls out and then you take modern toilet paper and compare them. And you like peel it apart and go, what the hell happened to the quality of toilet paper? I mean, this is so much. Anyways, you get the point. I have 20-year-old toilet paper. Yes, it will still work, and it's higher quality than the current toilet paper. Maybe I make a video on that. Reviewing toilet paper. Maybe not. Ugh, I'm just messing around. I was talking about, before I got sidetracked with TP, supply and demand. Okay, the demand right now is super, super high. That's why your shelves are empty. The supply for now, subject to change, is still trucking along. I've always said here in the project that for those shelves to be stocked, a lot has to go right. The labor force has to be effective. There has to be fuel supplies delivered on time. The roads have to be open. We have to have rule of law. And a lot of other things I'm not even getting into. For that truck to arrive at your Walmart with your toilet paper, with your canned meat product, with the fresh meats, with produce, with dairy products, is that going to last? Debatable. Highly debatable, especially when you start talking about the workforce. What if they get sick? What if they're quarantined? What if they're put into some sort of governmental lockdown where they can't? What if a without rule of law situation happens in a state that they have to traverse, and now they cannot traverse through said states without getting shot at? Now all the deliveries cease. Those shelves will be a lot more empty because then we'll have a supply problem too. So we have a demand problem now. Maybe later on we have a supply problem. And then the data changes. And then my answer may change. Will we go into a second Great Depression? I was talking about your neighbors, though, and how they're living on the razor's edge. They don't have a food supply. A lot of people don't have emergency funds stored up. Like, I've seen data out there and polls. Do you have, I think it was like $400 or $800 in emergency funds stored up? And like an alarming percentage of the people of all age groups said no. That's razor's edge. Hopefully you do. And hopefully you have played your cards right. And speaking of cards, in so many words, I've always thought that our wonderful society, which I love, rule of law, which I absolutely support, I'm sworn to defend, I will. I've always thought of it as a house of cards. And that, if this thing goes south, if things get worse, and I have mentioned this in some philosophy videos, toughening up your kids, for instance, I think this generation will not handle it as well as past generations. They're pampered. There's a sense of entitlement in our society as a whole. There has been a lot of prosperity for the last decades. And again, I love that prosperity. I'm not saying we shouldn't have had it. But at the same time, people are not temporally prepared, as in having the items they need on hand. They don't know how to manufacture them, grow them, farm them. And then I think probably even more scary is they're not mentally prepared for hardship. That's a bad thing. They're not used to discomfort. They're not used to going hungry. They're not used to walking long distances. They're not used to not being able to pick up their phones and dial 911 and have a cop show up to help them. All of these things may evaporate in our house of cards. And maybe that's not the best example, but I've always thought, long before TNP, that society is delicate and everything has to be just so for all these intermeshing elements to function. And I did talk about that in the last video, saying how it's a chain reaction. If one thing goes south, it's that ping pong ball on a bunch of mouse traps. One sets off and and now you see exactly what I was talking about, as this chain reaction of these small businesses going out of business, these employers having to lay off their employees. Now they don't have money, and the goods and services that those employees purchased with the money they used to have is no longer in the economy. Maybe a waitress used to go get her nails done, and now the lady that does her nails, or the salon that does her nails, they're closed too. By the way, they were probably closed by governmental order. That's what I'm talking about. However, there is hope. This won't last forever. In some ways, I think the COVID-19 thing is not going to be nearly as bad as we are being told. I could be completely wrong. It's just an opinion. But I've read data out there. They're predicting millions of people dying. I just don't know if that's right. I'm not saying the COVID-19 is not a serious disease. It is. It affects the lungs. People have pneumonia-like symptoms, and they can have labored breathing, and they can actually die just from that. They can drown. It's horrible. That's why they are clamoring right now for ventilators. It can overstress our medical system, and I think that's in our hospitals, and that's why they've taken a hard stance in a lot of states and localities. And even the federal government, as I film this, has said, hey, not really shelter in place, but social distancing, minimize your contact with other people. I think all of that is good, by the way. But will we see millions upon millions of people dying from this disease? I certainly hope not. I tend to think no, but what do I know? I'm not an epidemiologist. It's just my opinion. It will have a big impact on society. I did read off the CDC website, or it's here, I'm not going to dig in it, but it's like 80% of the deaths are people over age 65, and then a large percentage of those are over 80. And then, as we discussed last video, it affects people who have pre-existing conditions. So lung disease, cancer treatments, reduced immunity for whatever reason, diabetes, pre-existing conditions. But will it go through and wreak havoc on millions of lives in terms of economic damage? Yes. But I still have hope. I think guys are asking me in message, they're like, well, what do you think the time frame will be when this turns around? And again, I'm just like you. I don't have a crystal ball about this stuff. But if you were to press me and say, nothing fancy, give me a time, how long will this last? And it starts turning around. From the date I post this video, 3 months, minimum is what I will predict. 3 months. When the vector of this nation starts to really go up and people's confidence starts to get restored a little bit. 3 months is a long time if you're a business owner and you don't have money coming in. And again, I think a lot of businesses, just like those individuals in your neighborhood I described, were living on the razor's edge. They didn't have emergency funds. Maybe they couldn't. Maybe they're new businesses and they were just starting up and they're paying their employees, they're paying all their huge bills rolling in, and they can't store up hundreds of thousands of dollars of emergency funds. They can't. So I'm not leveling any judgments against them at all, but they don't have the capability to go even 90 days without having money coming in before they go insolvent. So the tsunami, in terms of economic effects for myself, for you, that's happened. The wave is coming to the shore is my prediction. And we're not feeling it yet. We will. And I hope it's better than I'm thinking. But like I said, I don't know if it's going to go right into the second Great Depression. I just have a feeling it's not. It's not. Now, right now, as I film this, they're thinking about doing a huge stimulus package. That's really a topic for a different video. If and when I address it, I don't really want to right now. Will that have an effect? Hard to say. Hard to say. What I would hope is that Americans are tough. In a perfect world, they're tough. They maintain hope. And they do what I've always advocated in my videos, and that is they use their sense of community of their neighborhoods and they pull together. That's what I want people to do. I want you to pull together with your family. I want you to pull together with your friends, and yes, pull together with your neighbors. Now, not literally pull together with social distancing and COVID-19, but you get the picture. That's how we survive as a people, is that we have teamwork. And that's always been a big philosophy of mine, in contrast to a lot of preparedness channels, I believe, is a lot of preparedness channels and whatever blogs and information sources online, they will advocate you basically holding up alone in your house. And I'm not saying that may not be necessary. It just might be. And every neighborhood's different. You may be in a really bad neighborhood where you're like, I don't feel safe being friends with that over there. I get you. But in a lot of our situations, maybe you do have good neighbors, and I want to have that sense of community, of labor sharing, of trading, so you can barter with your neighbors for that toilet paper that you failed to get. You can give them a box of 9 mil, and heck, for a box of 9 mil, you can get all kinds of good stuff. The sense of community, I think, even though we have a lot of problems in this country, and we do, I think it's still there. And these hard times that we're going to go through, and again, they're going to get worse, it's going to strengthen that. So there is some good that's going to come out. It's going to get people back to associating to one another. Again, pandemic notwithstanding. It's going to reprioritize people. Maybe their focus has been on something that really didn't matter. What matters is your family. What matters is the kind of person you are. What matters is your value system. Are you good? Can you look at God in the face and say, I lived a good life. I helped my fellow man. Maybe this situation, the hardships that we are all going to go through together, purifies us and gets us back to that root, that core morality that made the United States of America a great nation. Sometimes that takes hardship, and I have talked about this before. Sometimes it takes going on a 50-mile backpack trip and being hungry and uncomfortable and sore and working every day to appreciate the moments you have in front of a television and go, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. We need contrast in our lives. If our lives are always awesome, 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 guess what? We don't appreciate the awesome because we have nothing to compare it against. We're getting ready to have a crap sandwich handed to us as a nation, and it will be awful. It won't be fun. But as a nation, I'm not necessarily talking about as families, but as a nation, I think on the other end, we will be better people for it. I saw this after 9/11. It seemed like after 9/11, all the political correctness to a certain level, died down a little bit. So what I saw is, and you'll see it with this if you're not seeing it already, PC is going to kind of get hammered down because hardship, societal hardship especially, has a way of making the truth emerge. And in my project, I've always wanted to be about truth. Sometimes it's hard to hear, but it's still truth, and truth lasts the test of time. If you make your information as truthful as possible, it doesn't matter whether people don't like it, whether they hate you, it will stand the test of time and it will last and it will be vindicated in the end. With the hard times we're going to go through, you're going to see that. And I want you in the coming weeks and months ahead to remember this and see if you don't see that truth emerge. And the truth, what I just described, the truth of family, that's important. Being kind to one another, that's important. Serving others, being considerate, and putting your focus in life on that which matters and that which, as I've said before in other philosophy videos, when you're old, you look back and you go, I have no regrets of how I lived. You know, there might be a family whose dad basically was neglecting his kids and he was out on his business trips. Maybe he's flirting around with other girls and not being totally honest with his wife. Maybe now he gets a reset and he realizes, whoa, I was living a very selfish life. This is a random example. I have no one in mind. I'm just saying. Listen, we're all flawed. We all have a ton of problems, but situations like this sometimes allow us to breathe in, breathe out, and reprioritize what is going on in our lives. So, where do I think this is going? I think it's going to get worse. A lot worse. I don't know if I want to say a lot. It's just going to get worse. I hope the supply chain keeps on trucking. My big thing that I tell my family is this. I say, listen, as long as we have electricity, water, and sewer services operating, life is good. And that's the way I want you to look at it, TNPR. If you have those three things wherever you're at, you need to give that day a thumbs up. If you lose any one of those three, you will survive, you will make it through, but you're going to be uncomfortable. And most of your day will be used at just allowing your family to make it. You know, not necessarily, they're not going to die if electricity goes off, but they're going to be super uncomfortable. For instance, if you live in a really hot environment, it's 110 degrees outside, and your electricity goes out, now it's 130 inside your house, it could be bad. You're going to live like our ancestors, like the pioneers, and it ain't good. It's uncomfortable, but like I said, we've been really, really pampered in this life. We've always had those wonderful things, but the time may come when we don't, and then we have to survive. You will survive. You'll make it. And just gather a plan, take a deep breath, and go, what do we have on hand? What are our big holes? Can I barter for this other stuff? I'm assuming this will really go south. You'll make it. You'll make it, and you'll emerge a lot wiser. I really hope you guys are set. You know, that you have the necessities of life. I did say in the video, the 90-day thing, I will stick with that. And I think that is a realistic goal, even with the shelves doing what they're doing. Like, they're empty a lot. But if you plan your shopping excursions wisely, buy those necessities you'll need for 90 days. What I did too is, I'll just be honest with you guys. I went down and looked at our food storage, and I looked at my flour, and my flour is freaking ancient. And wheat stores forever, but flour doesn't, and my flour's out of date. you're going to have the same thing. You can't just constantly pump in, hundreds and hundreds of dollars in your food storage. Mine was dry packed. It's in number 10 cans. So what I did to fill my hole that I recently discovered, as I went down, took inventory, as you should do, as I need to get flour. So I went out and bought, I was lucky enough to, at one Costco, they had these large organic 10-pound flour bags. I bought 4 of them in 2 different visits. So 2 visits, bought 4, and then I ordered the Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers in it, and I'll just transfer them to there, and they'll store longer. I'll date them. That's part of my, repairing the holes in my stuff. By the way, I do have weed as well, and I do have a grinder, and I have a way to make bread, but you know me, nothing fancy. I want to have all the bases covered. You're going to find those same holes, and just shoot for that 90-day thing for me, please. Okay. And I have heard from TNPrs. They watched the first video I made, and I said it then. They're like, man, I listened to what you said, and I went out, and I feel like for my family, we can stay in our house for 90 days. As I'm filming this, I do sense a movement in the national government with President Trump, where he's realized that maybe we went too far in just completely trashing our economy. Listening to Anthony Fauci, who I think is a good person. He has the best intentions, but there's really 2 sides. Let's completely shut down everything so nobody interacts. We can really flatten the curve. COVID gets stamped out, or at least is minimized. And the other side is let's do nothing and let's just let the world go on. I understand both sides. I really do. And I think, again, there's good people on both sides that mean well. But we need to kind of come in the middle. And if knowing what I know now, which is imperfect knowledge, I think we need to side more to protecting and repairing at this point our economy, because otherwise we're going to have millions of people in poverty. And last time I checked, that means there's going to be some lives lost with that. And if we go into without rule of law because of that, because people get so desperate, they feel like they have to rob, steal, there's violence that ensues, without rule of law ensues, then we may look at the COVID or the corona flu, as I sometimes call it, the corona flu, as, wow, we did all this for that, for those numbers, for a 4% more or less mortality rate. And history may judge us going, that was not a good decision. Hopefully not putting us in a Great Depression. That is my big fear. But what I see now is an understanding that economic engine has to be protected, because it's hard to start up again. It's hard to repair, especially if some big businesses go out of business that employ tens of thousands of people. You just don't start those up overnight. You just don't. Especially businesses like airlines that require billions of dollars of capital to start up. How would this nation work if airlines aren't flying for like 2 years? I have mixed feelings about the whole thing, but it's big. And I'm glad to see the focus shift this week. Again, everything's changing, so 2 weeks from now, the situation will be completely different. Shifting to protecting and restarting our economy. And it's a hard decision. If I'm a company commander in the military and I have to take that hill over there that has an enemy artillery unit on it, and I know from my intelligence that, I'm talking about the intel they've given me, that I'm going to lose men taking that hill. How many? 200. Guaranteed 200 guys are going to die to take that hill. But if I don't take it out, it's going to rain down artillery fire on thousands. Sometimes we're faced with really hard decisions. There's going to be bad things happening no matter which way we turn. And I honestly don't envy President Trump. He is handling probably the worst national decision that I've seen in my lifetime, bigger than 9/11. Bigger than anything I've seen, and I think from what I've seen so far, he's doing a pretty good job. Is he flawed? Yep. But you know what? So am I. And so are you. We're all flawed. We're all human, and we make stupid decisions all the time. But from what I'm seeing, he's doing the best that he can. So, ending this SITREP report, my overall take is, yes, things are not good. Yes, things are going to get worse economically. You're going to see some businesses fail, which is very, very sad. There's going to be a trickle-down effect, tsunami-like, and it's going to make other businesses fail. And will this stimulus pass? Will it help? I honestly don't know. But I think the COVID thing will get under control, and I think we'll start an uptick. Again, my general time frame for that will be 3 months. If it's sooner, I'm super happy. Thank you for subscribing to this channel, to my A channel. I'm going to be putting more videos over here. Thank you for being part of my donation service. Right now I'm using Patreon. That's important to me as a creator, to have that money coming in, because right now for gun testing, I am going to be shooting out a stash, which I don't like to do because there's no ammo to be had. All the 9mm gone, all the 223's gone, all the 308's gone. I store up everything. I look ahead. I do not live on razor's edge. I stack it, and I'm ready for it, but for a certain amount of time. So me going out and going through 2,000 rounds of 9mm, and my stash goes, my testing stash, I'm like, ooh. So anyways, I'll buy it when I see it, but I need money to do that, and sometimes the ammo is going to be very super expensive for me. So Patreon pays the bills. They're the reason the project's still around. Also, I do store up content. Please note that. So you're going to see knife reviews, watch reviews, gun reviews that were filmed long before the COVID-19 pandemic. So you may look at that video and go, oh my gosh, he's so out of touch. She's acting like everything's great. Well, it was filmed in 2019, some in 2018, some earlier in 2020. It's still content. Guys like it. We still need to press ahead with our normal lives. I will totally do that in TNP. I'm going to do adventures. I have been doing them. Go on Patreon. I've posted some really fun content over there. But my reviews are going to continue because life goes on. There's guys that are joining the channel all the time. This is not the end of the world. We're just going to go on. But don't think if you see that content like, oh my gosh, she's so out of touch. It was filmed before. In fact, I'm starting to put screens that say, hey, film before the apocalypse. So we're coming to the end of the video. Everyone breathe in. Yeah, breathe out. And relax. You'll think clearer. Your family's counting on you. I have all the faith in the world that you can get through this, even if times get super, super hard, and they will. Believe in yourself. Pray to your God in heaven. He will help you. He will open up avenues for you to have the things you need. If you have any holes in your system, everybody does, and life will go on. Thank you for being part of this adventure through thick and thin. Through thick and thin, the Nut and Fancy Project will continue with your support. Over and out.